Hello student, welcome to the next video from EduZor. Today I will explain the poem Daffodils by William Wordsworth. So let's start Daffodils. First of all, I will introduce about the poet, then about the poem, then I will explain line by line poem. So introduction about the poet. William Wordsworth was born at Cockermouth on 7 April 1717. He was English romantic poet. With St. Coleridge helped to launch the Romantic Age in English literature with their joint publication Lyrical Ballad in 1798. He was called the priest of nature and even the greatest poet of nature in the world. Now, introduction about the poem. The romantic poet William Wordsworth, I wander lonely as a cloud, also known as the Daffodils, is probably his most famous lyrical work. The poem was written in 1804, inspired by an event on 15 April 1802, in which Wordsworth and his sister Dorothy came across a long belt of daffodils while travelling in the Lake District of England. It was first published in 1807. Now, explanation of the poem. The first stanza. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils beside the lake beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Now, explanation of the first stanza. Once the poet was wandering pointlessly beside a lake. He was all alone to wander freely akin and a patch of clouds floating in the sky over the valleys and hills. Suddenly, while walking beside the lake, he saw a large number of golden daffodils that were fluttering and dancing in the breeze. In the flowing and breeze made the daffodils flutter, and it seemed as if they were dancing. They were sheltered under a growing tree. The daffodils resembles the color of and the airy breeze made them wave and dance, rejoice and play. Now, the second stanza. Continuous as the star that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in a never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their head in a sprightly dance. Now, explanation of the second stanza. They resemble akin to innumerable shining stars that one could see in the night sky in the form of Milky Way. As the poet made an instant glance, he could see myriad of daffodils waving their head, as if they were rejoicing and dancing out of a clarity. Now, third stanza. The wave beside them dance, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay. In such a jocund company, I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to meet had brought. Now, explanation. Seeing this, the waves of the lake accompanied him, dancing along with these daffodils. But their lustrous dance was in no way comparable to the delight and gaiety of the flower. The poet seems to have breathed with an ecstasy of delight. He realized that a poet who was susceptible to natural grace could not help but feel happy in the presence of such gay and beautiful flowers. He gazed at them, hardly knowing that enormous treasure he was accumulating in his mind. Now, fourth and last stanza of the poem. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of the solitude, and them my heart with pleasure fills, and dance with the daffodils. Explanation of fourth stanza. That vista was impregnated in the poet's mind for an everlasting time. In future, when the poet lied down on his couch, either in a lonely or a pensive mood, the entire panorama that he saw in the mood beyond the crowd, the park appeared before his mind's eye. In solitude, when his mind is unrestrained by disturbing elements of the real world, he revives the memory of the daffodils. When the memory of that sight comes into view of the poet, he was able to derive aesthetic pleasure which he had enjoyed actually. Now I will tell you its poetic devices of the poem. So first poetic device which poem has used in this poem is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sound in the same line of poetry, such as the use of G sound in the line in I gazed and gazed. And the second line is where the poet used alliteration is the W sound in what wealth. For the for the poetic devices and the figure of speeches, you can watch my previous video from I option. So next figure of speech, moving forward, just look at the next figure of speech is assonance. So here the poet has also used this figure of speech, assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sound in the same line, such as the sound of A in the line 10,000 I saw at a glaze. And this is the best example of hyperbole also. This line is the best example of hyperbole also. And another E sound, assonance, in assonance, another the E sound in the line, they stressed in a never ending E. The E sound repeating here in this line, so here is assonance. Already I have explained in my previous video all the poetic devices, all these assonance also, alliteration also, and metaphor. You can watch it from my option. Okay, just moving forward, towards the next figure of his speech, metaphor. Wordsworth has used one metaphor in this poem in the last stanza as they flash upon that inward eye. Here, inward eye represents the sweet memory of daffodils. So, here is the metaphor. Next figure of speech is which poet has used here in this poem is personification. In personification, a lifeless object and abstract idea are thought of as living being. In the line, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. The poet has used personification in this line. And the next line is tossing their head in a sprightly dance. In this line also poet has used personification. In such a jocund company is also the best example of figure of the personification. And the consonance. Consonance is the repetition of the consonant sound, such as the sound of T in the line, what wealth the show to me had brought, and N sound in the line, in vacant or in pensive. So it was the explanation of the poetic devices. I hope the poem would be clear to you all. Thanks for watching. If you like my video, please subscribe my channel.